What's good, YouTube? What's good? This is STORMYBMAN, and I am back welcoming you to the post-fight show with STORMYBMAN for this Saturday, April 17th, 2021. And we're here this evening to talk about a few of the fight cards that took place today. And I understand that the Triller card is still going on. I have opted out of that show. It's kind of just like something I didn't want to tune into, and therefore I can bring you this version of the post-fight show a little bit earlier so we don't have to be on so late. And my man Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens is still over there. He's calling the Triller event. So for those of you that like to support Reggie on that endeavor, please do so. Go over to Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, and you can catch what is still going on as far as his way of viewing the action. So I'll be flying solo with this version of the post-fight show, but it's okay because you guys know, if you've been around Stormy's channel, that I can still hold down the fort. It's no problem. But I appreciate any and everyone who's out there. Those of you who came on in and started to hit the like button right away, much appreciation for that. It's nice to see that some people still want to hear what I have to say on this evening's event. So, you know, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring it right on to you. Coming up with the first card that was a part of tonight's events. And that's basically what just wrapped up on Fox Sports, or Fox Television, where we had the PBC broadcast of the Tony Harrison Bryant PERRELLA fight card. It was a 3-fight card where we saw Harrison and PERRELLA in the main event. And I'll tell you that this card wasn't too bad. There was a lot of action on this card. And it's funny how even when you're not familiar with guys or what they're about, if you put them in good matches, you'll always see cream rise to the top. And in this instance, for a television broadcast, they held their own and entertained with much aplomb this evening. So yeah, that's the fight card on Fox this evening. And I scored the 3 bouts. Was you know, moving around a little bit, but I was still scoring the fight. And this main event, which I will get to in just a moment, I want to get to the first fights that were right there before the main event, because I know you guys want to hear what I have to say about the main event, but I promise I won't hold you all night, because it's just myself, so you'll get my critique and breakdown on the evening's affairs. First of all, and I have my score sheets here with me. Stormy likes to keep his own scores on the fights, right? And it's something that I started doing late last year and found it to be helpful when I do the post-fight shows, because being able to go back and go over the matches, it helps. The first bout of the evening was the highly touted young kid prospect Vito Milnecki, and he took on James Martin. This fight right here, first and foremost, this is what happens when people get a little bit too much of that praise, and you haven't been tested in the waters yet, only circling the wading pool. Huh? Now that right there. Oh, and forgive my my man, trying to get it together this evening, brothers and sisters. Forgive my ignoring the chat. I'm not ignoring the chat. I want to do a quick roll call before I go into Vito and James's bout. First off, we got out there. We had Don Shotter 24. He says, salute Stormy, salute to you. Mike 202 says, blessings Sensei Stormy B-Mans and blessings to you. DT is out there, says, salute Stormy. Ready to hear your breakdowns of the fights and salute to everyone. Ricky E 245 is out. He says, what's up Stormy? JC is out there giving the fist bump. Bruce Goes, my man, is out there. The OG says, salute Stormy B-Man, my bro, salute to you. Dwayne Jones is up there, says, bless up from Atlanta. That's what's up. Salute to you, Dwayne. And DT is saluting Mike 202. Rashid Rourke is out there, says, peace, my brother Stormy B-Man, and to everyone. And Larry Roy says, salute to you, Stormy. Thanks for the great content. I appreciate that, Larry Roy, and hope to continue to be able to provide that which you consider great content. Let's see. Andrew Charles, my man, is out there. Andrew says, salute Stormy B-Man in chat. Underground Asylum, my man with the membership badge. And don't be shy, you subscribers out there. The badges are easy to attain. All you have to do is hit that join button and become a member of Stormy B-Man's channel. That's right. He says salute and salute to the chat. Rashid Rourke says the undercards were entertaining. Yes, they were. That's why I wanted to get to them a little bit. Jeff, the producer, says, Storm, what's good with you, Jeff? And let's see, Sheldon Holmes is out there, says, salute, Stormy. James, I play no games with Vito. Yeah, yes, sir. He got right down to business, just like I was about to do about their fight, right? Now, they talked about James. I think they said he was 23-3, but he didn't have knockouts. They were talking about him not being a knockout puncher. And Vito was definitely the darling here in this situation. They had talked about his amateur career. They had talked about him, you know, taking, you know, his time growing up in the gym with his, you know, his background in boxing. He graduated high school in 2020. He turned pro, and, you know, he was supposed to be the All-American kid, you know, according to the standards that they give for certain fighters. And coming out here, and they did say before the match that his opponent, James Martin, was going to be someone who would be a test for him early on because he was a skillful fighter, good defense, but just didn't have punching power. Well, that got turned on its end when James proved to be quite a better fighter and looked to be the guy who was the showcase in this particular match, where he pounced out there with a great jab, and he was taking the fight to Vito, who started very slow and sluggishly in this scheduled 8-rounder. And after 2 rounds, Stormy had James Martin up, right? Now, I'm looking at the fight, and the announcers, as they're calling it, they're not trying to give the credit to James as much as they're talking about what Vito may need to do. And they never said that he was losing. They said that it was a close fight. Now, the first round that I gave Vito was the 4th. So that meant he was down 3 rounds already in a scheduled 8-rounder, okay, on my card. They kept talking about how close the fight was. Next thing you know, there's blood coming from Vito's nose and his face is looking like it's being severely touched up. Now, the thing about that is, remember, Martin was not supposed to have power, and he had no knockouts that they were considering of noteworthy. So it's like they thought that eventually the strength of the 18-year-old Vito was going to get to him. That never happened. Martin took a couple of shots from him at some points in the fight, even some solid uppercuts, but he was never in danger of going down. He never wobbled. He just took a shot solidly, like when you do get hit. He reacted the way people react when they get hit. Oh, and then he got back on his, focus. But let this be a lesson to each and every one of the fighters out there that when you go into these type of matches, you have to be equipped to deal with whatever is presented before you. And if you're not, this is going to be a learning experience. And your trainers and coaches have to assist with guiding you through. Salute to Mike 202. And he's out there now as a member. And he's a true student, which we're calling the disciple in the membership plan. Okay, so Mike 202, my disciple, welcome to the level of disciple in the STORMYBMAN membership. Appreciate you joining, brother. Appreciate you joining. So, with Vito not being focused enough to think that he could still pull his fight out, the irony was, even the 8th round, he lost. He did not go for a knockout. He did not try to turn the tables at any point. And even the announcers said something about that when the final bell had rung, because they were expecting him to try to go for broke or something like that. It just didn't happen. And I blame the corner of Malecki, because when they saw him losing those earlier rounds, like I said, I had him down after 2, right? And the first round I gave him was the 4th. So let's just say he lost the first 3 rounds. They didn't switch gears. Now, he might not have had gears to switch, being that he's a young prospect and he's just kicking out the gate and things like this, right? But the corner wasn't prepared. It was amateur night again here in this situation, and that's something that cannot be overlooked. Now, because of the way he lost, he got beaten up by a guy who was supposed to not be a puncher or whatever, right? What's going to happen when he faces someone who can crack? Now, quite naturally, the next fight will be someone who probably doesn't even have arms. And that probably should have been the route before this fight, but they're so busy trying to put these guys on TV and make them stars and stuff like that. When you skip the lessons, you fail the courses. Okay, I'm putting it out there as plain as can be. Now, Vito may still be a prospect, but he's not going to be what he could have been before tonight. And that's not to say much, because he may not have had it, okay? Because these people, like I said, when they get that machine going, all they see is dollar signs. And all they want to do is fake it till they make it. I was concerned as I watched this fight that James Martin was going to get robbed out of a decision. But I was so surprised that they decided to just give him the decision in this bout, and not a draw or a split or anything like that. And I said, oh, holy smokes. That really alerted me. And so therefore I kept my eyes peeled for the rest of the card. Now, the second fight, of the evening, Omar Juarez against Elias Arajo. Good fight, man. And as I listened to the call on this by KQKC, this was the type of fight where these two men, their styles meshed very well. Araju fought with that come forward style. He had a bull tattooed on his back, and he had macho on his trunks, which, you know, indicated his personality type. That meant that he was going to be aggressive in this fight, which played well into the hands of Juarez, who fought with rhythm and perpetual motion, as my brother Kirk Sugar likes to say, and he used stylish footwork and upper body movement to ward off the attack of Araju. And he was countering well, put you in the mind of what it is, you know, for a fighter to be at that level of intensity and focus. And he kept his guard up, and he was able to turn the guy and get his shots off, and, you know, run combinations, running him into shots and countering and slipping and making the shots fall off his shoulder and stuff, kind of like Floyd Mayweather used to do when he was a younger fighter. And this fight went on like that for the distance. You know, these guys fought the distance, and it was an entertaining, engaging fight. Both getting their pounds of flesh in, both doing the good things in the fight. So it was very entertaining, and I would like to see Omar Juarez, who got the decision in this fight, I would like to see him again and see him in with another boxer to see how he can make adjustments with someone who can box with him. Because those the bullish fighters who need to get inside and, you know, get close to him and bang and stuff like that, it looks like he's a seasoned fighter to deal with that already. Now I need to see him in with some boxers to see how well he can make adjustments to fellow boxers. I want to salute a couple of more people who have come in. Benjamin Harrington out there says Tony Harrison lost the fight. DT says, Stormy, I don't see the link to join. The link to join is where it is on everyone else's panel and channel there. It's right there in the description box. Right, if you're looking at it on a tablet or something, it should be right there next to the name for the channel, STORMYBMAN. Or you could go directly to the channel page where it's right there under the name for the channel. So the join button is right there, and that's how you can hit that, decide which level that you feel that you're capable of handling, and see if Stormy can hold you up to task with that. But yeah, that's where you could go on the main page. The join button is right there where the channel is listed. And it's like that on everybody who has the join button. But I know that some brothers were using it and some have not elected to use it or haven't as of yet. So I just started this a couple of days ago. So thank you to anyone and everyone who's interested. And we all are a solid community out here. Want to support one another. Let's see. Mike 202 is offering, got to do it on your computer, not your phone, at DT. Okay, see, I don't use my phone, so I got my tablet here, but not my phone. So I want to salute Tyrone is out there. TS Boxing, salute to you, Tyrone. Good to see you. Boli's out there, says Juarez was hurting him to the body late in that fight. And he says, looked like Juarez was trying to impress Roy. Listen, man, the kid can box. He's got some skills. I love the fact that he was digging that left hook and digging that left hook. At one point, he was throwing like 4 or 5 of them up under there, getting them around the elbow, inside the elbow. He was really taking those shots in on him. And see, I'll let this be a lesson for anyone that was watching that. Those shots hurt Orahu more than you know. But he was man enough to try to pull through that. But just understand that when you get hit to the body in those places that he was getting hit, it definitely saps your legs. Definitely, big time. So, you know, Juarez was doing a wonderful thing with that body work. He was getting it in, and it was paying off. Matter of fact, the fight went the distance, but Arahu was coming in on fumes because that body work that he got put in on him. You understand? And plus, it takes a lot of energy to press forward like he did. He didn't try to box. He didn't try to jab and everything. He was just trying to get close to Juarez and put his hands on him. But again, let that be a lesson. You have to learn how to box, even if you box a little bit, to make the adjustment, because you just can't go 100 for 10, 12 rounds. You just can't do that. You're going to burn yourself out and probably end up getting knocked out or stopping, because all of you got in your tank can get emptied. This is why you can learn how to rest with the jab. You can learn how to defend with the jab. That's why you have to learn how to make adjustments in there. And that's a great segue into this next fight, which was the main event, where we had Tony Harrison coming back after over a year layoff. He didn't fight any in 2020, and his last fight was his knockout loss to Jermell Charlo. And in that fight, we saw Harrison get dropped a couple of times in that fight and eventually stopped in the last round. Mel Charlo became unified champion after winning his title back from Harrison, who had defeated him a year earlier in 2018. So this fight, and Harrison had endured some hardships with the loss of his dad, and, you know, some different things going on in his life, some setbacks, but he's trying to come back and resume his career. He had even said that he would like to see a third fight take place between he and Charlo. But not so fast, because Mr. Perrella, Brian Perrella, had something to say about that. Now, Perrella came in with Roy Jones Jr. working his corner, and he had been in a situation where, as a contender, even being a sparring partner with Keith Thurman, he's the naturally smaller guy, but the tutelage of Roy was supposed to assist him to a certain degree. And to me, from my vision test, Roy's participation in camp with him helped him tremendously. If it didn't help him with anything else, it helped him with his confidence. Because I saw a couple of moments in there where early on, Harrison looked like he was going to try to turn the heat up on Perrella. And Perrella thought about it for a moment and then came to the recognition like, hey, I'm on this level too. And he started fighting back. I love that. The way that I was scoring this fight, I gave Harrison the first out of the first 5 rounds. I gave him the first round, and I had Perrella sweeping the next 4. And the interesting thing about that was the rounds were close, but for his experience and the type of boxing style he had, I don't think that Harrison should have fallen back behind that much, which shows me 2 things about him. Either he is slipping past it, or the time off really plays a role with him, and maybe he should have even taken a softer touch. Not that I'm calling Perrella a soft touch, but you have to understand that that was a matchup in favor of Harrison and not Perrella. But I said the inclusion of Roy Jones Jr., sometimes just having that caliber of a personality in boxing working with you, it can raise you up a level, especially if you have the space within you for that. 2, with Harrison, is he shot? I don't know. In the middle to late rounds, it looked like he could see the openings, but he couldn't pull a trigger. Now, you talk about being a southpaw. This is the one thing I want to say about being a southpaw. And before I go forward, I want to acknowledge a couple of other people there. Mr. Pac-Man 216 says, salute Big Dog. Salute to you, Mr. Pac-Man. And DT, I see you found the join button and are now a member. Let's welcome DT to STORMYBMAN membership. He's a Todai. Todai is Chinese for newbie or a beginner. So you're at the beginner's level of the sensei's membership. So there's always room for improvement, always room to move up. But the fact that you decided to become a Todai, I have to salute you. So any of my members, they get the salute first before anyone else. That's another perk, you know, to acknowledge the family in that regard. And it's no disrespect or anything, but it's just showing the consistency of, and it's like a devotion of family. So that's what that is. It's an acknowledgement. So that's what we have going with that. And let me see here. I got trying to get to some things here for the channel. I have to remember to do certain things. I'm on here. Got a lot of stuff working behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. So when you see me pause for a moment, it's just a matter of acknowledging, you know. So with Stormy, just try to keep everything moving. This is how we do things over here. And, you know, I always try to be big with the presentation. Keep you guys interested there. So, let's see. There was something else I needed to do here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see. Here we go. Try to put that all on the screen for you guys so you can see the chat on the screen, as well as some other graphics and stuff that come up during the show. So with that being said, I don't know if Harrison really, you know, they talked about him, how he didn't like facing southpaws and things like that or whatever. But I think personally the wrong way to look at fighting a southpaw for a guy who's supposed to be an assassin with his right hand, I think that's a bad way to look at a southpaw, because that's a southpaw's Achilles, you know, facing a good right hand puncher. And I have to say, it looked like Harrison kept the right hand in the holster. He didn't pull it out very much. And for someone who didn't have a lot of head movement, which was Perrella, he did not get that right hand off enough, especially in the later rounds when you might not have been necessarily landing it early on. But in the later rounds, when guys are fatigued, they don't move as much. A punch that was missing by 2 or 3 inches early on are now 2 or 3 inches closer. You understand? So it's like, what was really happening there? He was standing up between every round. If I'm not mistaken, he had his brother there as his lead cornerman. He probably needed someone else who was a more experienced championship caliber trainer, because Harrison never turned up the heat after what I mentioned in those earlier rounds. where he tried to challenge Perrella to see, you know, if he was going to fold up or not, and he didn't. Okay, now it's time to settle into a fight, but you also have to do things tactically. Perrella led in body shots landed. He landed more of the jabs, even though he moved a lot. And Harrison called himself walking him down early. He was walking into shots because he wasn't coming in behind an effective jab, a pawing jab, slapping jab, but nothing that was like pushing Perrella to the limits. And see, when you have situations like that, you could see where the guy was really missing something. And I'm talking about Harrison in this instance. Roy Jones was doing a great job in Perrella's corner of keeping his confidence up, telling him what he needed to do tactically, and keeping him focused. There was one point where he took a really good shot and he looked a little wobbled and everything, and they righted that ship and they got beyond that. There was a point where Harrison was wobbled and shaken, and it looked really weird because it was reminiscent of when he got in trouble against Jermell Charlo. But in the Charlo fight, I thought that he had lost focus when that happened, and you know, that's what it became. But maybe Harrison is just chinny, okay? And as good a boxer as he can be, you get in there and you put gloves on him, and sometimes you can rattle him, rattle the cage, and once that happens, it throws off what he's trying to do. So we saw a little bit of all of that in this match here, and I'll tell you, it's something to be concerned with going forward, because they gave him that draw, but he lost that fight, people. Harrison lost that fight. And Perrella is not even championship caliber fighter at this juncture. So it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? But I was really concerned that he wasn't pulling the trigger on his shots. He could see those openings, and Perrella would be there, and then he's over there, and then he's gone. And, you know, Tony just wasn't letting the shots go, man. So there could be something going on there. There could be even something, you know, that's left over from the Charlo fight where he's a little bit gun shy or something. Or it could be that it was rust. You know what I mean? But we'll have to see him again to be able to make that determination. Like the assessment I made on Triple G out of his last fight, where I thought he really looked like an aging fighter. He was much slower than he was against Canelo, and he wasn't even fighting a high caliber fighter. And his punches didn't have the same snap because they weren't landing with the same speed and velocity and things like that. And when a fighter starts to age like that and he can get countered and someone can punch in between his punches, you know, he's a sitting duck. And that's the way it looked like for Harrison in this fight, but we have to see him in another just to be certain. Is this what we're really seeing or not? I hope that it's not, but usually that something like that can be right on. I want to say salute to my man Taylor Bell out there in that super chat. He says, what a pleasant surprise. Went out to eat with my wife for the first time in over a year, and I thought I was going to miss the post-fight. Cheers to the late start. It's actually an early start. It would have been later than this if I had waited for Reggie beyond the, what we call it, the Triller broadcast. But I told Reggie that I wasn't tuning in to Triller, and I just wanted to go ahead with the post-fight show. So I told people at the start of the show here, Taylor Bell, if they wanted to check out Reggie's call of the Triller event, please do so over there on this channel. But I just kind of wanted to go ahead and get the post-fight show underway and do our thing here, man, like we do. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts about the Harrison fight, man. And we'll like to see him again. and hopefully he'll be in a much better position when he has his next fight to be a little more active. I think that he didn't throw enough punches. He didn't throw his right hand enough, and it cost him. But he got a gift with PBC because he's on their list as one of their main fighters and a former champion. So they saved him with that draw, but that was not a draw. It should have been a decision for Perrella, and it wasn't even close. That fight wasn't close. I had Perrella winning out of 12 rounds. I had him winning 8-3 with one even. And a couple of those rounds could have been swing rounds for Harrison, but it still wouldn't have been. It was minimum 7-5, but no closer than that. That was no draw. That was no draw, and that's according to how I saw the fight. He looked like garbage tonight, and that Harrison, and he didn't have any levels or adjustments. So, Boli says Perrella's broken rhythm was bothering Harrison, in my opinion. Harrison should have led and then countered the counter. That's one way to look at it. Or he could have just activated that jab to be more of an attacking weapon. Up, middle, down. You don't just kind of shoot the jab at somebody's face or whatever. One of the things I used to love about Lennox Lewis when he boxed was that because he was taller than most of the opponents, he would throw his jab different ways. A lot of times he wouldn't even bring it all the way back. He would kind of hold it halfway out, extend it so that it's already there to meet you if you take a step in. Then sometimes Lennox would jab at the top of your head, right? And that would make you dip down under the jab because actually being hit at the top of your head where your headline is or something like that, that is really painful. And if it lands solid, it could snap your head back to to the back of your shoulders, and that pain goes down your spine all the way to your butt, to your what do they call it there? Your where your butt at the tailbone. So Lennox could do that very well. And then when you begin to duck under that jab and dip down, he dropped that right hand down on you because you can't see it. And because he hides it like this, and he's jabbing up at the top of your head like that, and you dip down and boom, he dropped that right hand on you. A lot of people don't know. And Emmanuel taught him that because he didn't fight like that before he got with Emmanuel. But this is what I'm talking about. When you learn how to do things and you learn the whys. Why do you do this? Why do you throw that punch? In boxing, sometimes we call them throwaway punches, but they're not really throwaway punches. They are punches with a purpose to get you to respond or react to what's being done so that they can get data on you. The fighter can get data on you to find out what you're doing and counter that. So yes, Boli, countering your counter. So exactly. But yeah, man, so that was it in a nutshell for me with the Perrella and Harrison fight. It could have been a much better fight had Harrison done those things that I said tactically, and it would have been a much more interesting fight if Perrella had a little bit more punching power, because I'm telling you, Harrison looked shaky at some moments in that fight. Looked very shaky, man. So let me see here. I want to get back to some fights that took place earlier in the day, and that was on the DAZN card, and that would have been when we had Demetrius Andrade taking on Liam Williams. Now that fight card was kind of interesting on DAZN. interesting for the reason of is like the first fight that took place, man, I almost cracked up laughing because of what transpired. What we got here? I want to say salute to my man, Walk 'em Down Ram, out there in that super chat. He says, peace to the chat and salute to the trill. Hashtag LDBC. Yes, sir. Salute to you. Walk 'em Down Ram, man. Good to see you out there, man. Appreciate your super chat and your donation to the channel, man. Appreciate you. The first fight on that DAZN card, that Madajov, the heavyweight, taking on that guy Sedidov. You know, these guys with these Russian names and, you know, names from the Eastern front over there. It's like all of them end with like a Z or a V or something like that. But let's just say Mad and Said, you know, when they fought, it was a first round knockout. And the guy who got knocked out was Madajov. And he wasn't supposed to get knocked out in the first round like that. But I'll tell you, something happened to him that I've seen happen before. It happened to Michael Grant when he fought Jamil McCline. He got hit with a shot, and because the shot turned his lights out so quickly, his body didn't get a chance to respond to the fall. It's like he fell with all his weight on his ankle and broke his ankle, and the fight was over just like that. He tried to get up after the count, and he couldn't stand on that ankle anymore, so they had to stop the fight. When Michael Grant fought Jamil McCline, same thing happened. The bell rang for the first round. They walked out to meet each other. McCline threw some kind of punch. I think it was a left hook or something, and hit Grant, and Grant fell. All his weight over his foot. His foot got caught behind or underneath and broke his foot as well. It's like it can happen in boxing. If you watch enough boxing, you see these things. And it's just, my goodness, it's like, this is why you have to protect yourself at all times. Be prepared at all times. When that bell rings, it's on. It's like, imagine when you touch something of electric frequency and it shocks you, right? You draw your hand back really fast. But that's if you slightly touch, right? It's like you feel the shock and you draw back. But if you grab something with that electric charge in it, you can't let go because it locks your hand in place. That's how people get electrocuted to death and things like that. So it's the same kind of dynamic. When you get hit that shot and your body can't move, something's going to collapse under all of that weight and it's not going to make it. Which is why you got to be ready. You got to be warmed up. Man, it's just like, I felt for the guy too, because he was trying to be macho and act like he was good, but he was in a lot of pain, bro. He was in a lot of pain, because I heard him cry out once, and then he seemed to check himself, Madajov, I want to say, and but they carted him out and got him on up out of there and got him to the hospital. Hopefully he's okay and he'll just be out due to, you know, having broken his foot or his ankle or whatever. Hopefully it's not something that's going to stop his career from commencing, because you don't want to see that in boxing. But Said knocked him out. And I've seen Said fight before on somebody's undercard. I've seen that guy within this past year. And I will have to look him up on BoxRec to find out exactly which fight that was. But he's a bruising, strong guy. So it was like, it wasn't an accident that his punch knocked Mad down. But it would have been interesting had that fight gone on, because Mad hadn't fought in over a year. And Said, you know, he's been out there. So it was a great opportunity for him, and kudos to him for not running around celebrating like he really did something. He tried to help Mad off the canvas. He tried to help them on the stretcher and all of that. He was really taking it like a trooper, you know. And you like to see that sportsmanship like that when somebody, because it, like the announcer said during the fight, it could be you, you know, on the canvas like that one day. So you kind of want someone to show you the same type of respect. So, but yeah, it was an interesting situation there with that fight. Just, it was just an interesting thing. When heavyweights clash, man, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And that's what that was for those guys. The next fight was a IBO super middleweight fight between Gorgonza and Pearson. Now, this fight here was an interesting fight. These guys were going back and forth, but they were familiar with one another as well. You know, they've been in the gym with each other and things like that. But I felt like Pearson in this fight was doing too much showboating and fighting with his hands low and, you know, kind of shimmering his shoulders and stuff like that, instead of trying to tactically let his hands go. And he paid for that because Gorgonza cracked him with a punch over the top that hit him in the eye, and his eye ballooned up just like some of these other fighters that we've seen recently. The Danny Dubois, this lady we saw last week, the Ebony Bridges, who, by the way, fought like a true warrior with her eye like that. When Pearson's eye got damaged, he seemed to not want to fight anymore. And I had remarked in KQKC's chat, salute to KQKC, when he was calling the fight, I said that guy, it was like he had no intention of fighting beyond his eye being hurt. But that can happen in boxing, and we talk about this, where you saw how fighters that have a damaged eye, you know, whether it's cut, whether it's swollen or whatever, you have to push through that. This is what fighters do. And the next time something gets difficult, it'll be easier to stop and not go forward, because you're taking yourself off the table of competition. You don't want that holy grail, you know. And it's a test. Fighters are put through a test, questions being asked. I call it, this is the soft serve era of boxing with these fighters like this, with these temperaments, because first and foremost, they don't want to be challenged. They don't want questions asked of them. They want you to kiss their fanny and tell them how good and great that they are, and they want the bag. But last I remember, in the era that I'm from, to get the bag, you got to go to work. You got to roll your sleeves up. Ain't nobody just going to hand you anything. And these guys laying on the sofa waiting for the mailman to slip a check in the mailbox. We can't have that. You know what I mean? So this is just one of those things, man. And I talk about it, but it's like, it's not cool when you see fighters resign, and it's just because it's getting rough for them in there. You know, was Gorgonza supposed to lay down for him? You know, you got the wrong mentality and wrong approach to this when you come in there with that type of mindset, you know, and that's not the thing you want to see out of your fighters. Taylor Bell out there, he says, too concerned with the Harlem Shake and not enough beatdown. Yeah. And he said, did Harrison lose tonight? No, it was a draw, Taylor Bell. It was a draw. And he looked like crap. You know, if you go back and listen to my earlier breakdown of it, he did not look his best in the least. You know what I mean? So that's what that was with him. But this fight with Garganza, you know, I see him being a guy who can get in the middle of things at that weight class because he has some ability. He's a technically proficient guy, not really athletically gifted or anything, but he's got a strong enough punch. He's a solid enough fighter that he's not going to be someone you can just easily push to the side. I kind of liken him like your Dennis Ugas, but at super middleweight, you know. But we'll see what happens in the future with him. There are some guys who, you know, you would like to see do some things and he not be in the way. But I got a feeling we're going to see his name again. It's like he's going to get into somebody's way. And the only thing about that is it's because the guys are not battle tested. They're not proven. And when you have guys who come from tough situations, and I'm sure that Garganza comes from a tough situation. I could see his temperament through his boxing. He's not worried about being hurt. The last fight I saw him in was kind of went the same way. He was beating on the guy and then he won. It's like sometimes the cream rises to the top when the guys don't have it. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of guys in boxing today that don't have it, man. Some of your favorite fighters, some of them are champions. And I'm going to tell you, as soon as they get in there and somebody tests them, that's when you're going to see. And you're going to be like, oh, I don't know what happened to so-and-so. Yeah. You hear me talking about this dude Harrison in his fight tonight. If Perrella was a better puncher, he didn't have to be a knockout artist, but just a better puncher, he would have stopped Harrison tonight because there was something that wasn't right about Harrison. And when Mel stopped him over a year ago, that was telling, you know, and he's lost before that. So it's like, and for him to have the right hand that he has and he don't put it on people, you know, you're just out there waiting for somebody to get you. So, yeah. General Squirrels, salute to General Squirrels out there. He says Harrison won't get that third Charlo fight now. Yeah, he probably shouldn't get it because Mel is on a different level. And he's been on a different level, but the people weren't respecting him. The people of the sport of boxing, the powers that be, the PTB, we call it, you know, the powers that be. They don't want to celebrate guys like Mel because they talk brash and they're rude and things like that. But they're fighters. And that's how some fighters' temperament need to be. Some guys need to keep that edge like that for themselves so they can do what you see them do in the ring. If you want them to become more civilized and speak like this, thus, thou, though, and all of that, that might affect him in the ring. So if he keeps that killer mentality, you know, as long as he ain't doing something to get in the police blotter or, you know, show up in somebody's courtroom and stuff like that, it's good, you know, because I don't care about his personal life. I want to see him when he's fighting professionally because that's what I know him for. That's my entertainment aspect and focus on him and fighters like him. You know, I don't care how much money he got or where he lives or how big his house is. That's you guys out there now in this new era soaking up that stuff. But I said he's a throwback as a fighter. And you put him back there in Terry Norris's time with Julian Jackson and all those guys, you will see some good fights. Because he ain't going to back down. He going to fight. Huh? But like I said also a moment ago, there's a number of these guys out here that are repping that soft serve mentality. And a lot of them are going to get exposed. Maybe even before this year is out, where you see now that PBC has made a list of fights, you're going to see some things. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least to see some favorite fighters who are named and noteworthy in the sport be brought down a rung or two off of their loftiness because they're not the real deal. So let's get to the WBO super middleweight title fight. That was Demetrius Andrade taking on Liam Williams. Another Liam. Man, there's so many Liams out there in the sport. It's ridiculous. It's almost unbelievable that you can't go through those weight classes, the middles up into the light heavies, all these Liams. Oh my goodness, Liams and Callums. And anyway, but this fight turned out to be interesting. I had talked about Williams warming up in the dressing room, and he had broken a sweat. He was jumping rope. He was doing some things, excuse me, to get himself ready for the fight, which is okay. But I saw Boo Boo Andre do something that is not really typical of himself. He came out there in that first round and he threw some heat at the guy. Meaning, like, I know the guy, Williams, was talking a lot of stuff, talking about how he was going to take the fight to Demetrius Andrade and go after him, said he had a higher energy level than him and things like that. And it was interesting because when Boo Boo attacked him that way early on, he wasn't ready for it, and he got caught a couple of flush shots that shook him up. And he got dropped in the second round, and I felt like, uh-oh. But the guy weathered the storm, and he didn't mind the old adage about fighters. Protect yourself at all times. He wanted to do to Andre what Andre did to him in the opening sequence of that fight, but Andre, being more athletically gifted and everything, was able to do those things and get off against him early like that without him being prepared for it. And it took him a while to climb back into the fight. But as he climbed back into the fight, I had Andre winning eventually out of the 12 rounds. I had him winning 8-4. But in the middle to late rounds, he was hitting Andre with some good stuff. And I was saying to myself, now, if that was somebody who was more athletic that could keep up with him or something like that, what would the case be for Andre? You know, would he be up to snuff? Would he be up to being able to take that? And Mike 202, he says, Liam Williams got my respect tonight. Yeah, he got my respect as well, because he toughed it out. He fought like a fighter is supposed to fight. He got hurt. He got knocked down. He got back up. He kept fighting. He was, his face was showing some physical damage. But guess who else was showing physical damage? Mr. Andre, which means he was taking some shots. But again, when you talk about a guy fighting someone who has class, meaning a class of skills that they can rock with you, that they can hang in there tough with you, that makes a difference. Instead of guys who are just being set up to be knocked down like bowling pins. We have to get that out of our minds when you watching who these guys are fighting. Now, that was a tough match for Andre, but a few years ago, that guy wouldn't have been able to lay a hand on Andre. So Andre is slipping. He's missing some things now. And it's going to be interesting because Canelo may look to fight him soon or whatever, where he could see, oh, I see him slipping there. He tripped a little bit. He stumbled, and they be looking for you then when you show those vulnerabilities, Salute to Dwayne Freeman out there. He says, salute STORMYBMAN. Salute to you, bro. And Bruce Gold says, to me, this fight didn't answer any of the questions we were asking about Andrade. He did it according to plan. I don't think his plan was to get hit as much as he got hit, Bruce goes. And I don't think his plan was to show the fatigue and wear that he showed in the later rounds. I thought he would have wanted to look a lot more fresher. And at that point where he dropped Williams with that straight 1-2, you notice he never landed that combination like that again. That's an adjustment made by Williams, and it's also a factor of looking at Andrade that he never tried to set that up again. So ring IQ. Why was Andrade running back toward the ropes at times and trying to bob and weave and give an angle off of that? And my goodness, he kept throwing that right uppercut like, it's a sneak punch for him, but like it was really something to be, he never tried to set that shot up. He was throwing it from the outside. He was throwing it when they got close. He just kept throwing it. And a real seasoned fighter with a higher boxing IQ would set him up to throw that shot so that they can counter it with the proper shot. And Williams never did that. And that may have played a role due to he got hurt early, got buzzed. I won't say hurt, but he got hurt. He got buzzed early. And then his focus changed to, let me protect myself a little better or whatever. But the fact that that guy was down and he was beaten up like he was, he should have been stopped. Maybe Andrade from 3 years ago could have stopped him. But I don't know. There's some questions there for Demetrius Andrade. Some real questions. You have to kind of try to figure out what exactly is he doing. And if he's going to get in there with any of the other high caliber fighters who can fight him back, that's his vulnerabilities will only be maximized, or increased, So you have to think of things that way, It's just a good fight for him right now would be against Triple G. Because Triple G has slowed down enough for Andre to look really good against. And maybe he could get away from Triple G still for the power and strength that Triple G has. But Andre shows something else too, a vulnerability about getting hit and rocked with shots. He didn't respond very well when Williams landed some solid, clean shots on him. And that's the thing. Yes, Bruce goes, he looked like he was just relying on his natural talent. I was hoping for more from your homeboy. Yeah. Well, he did rely. And see, that's that thing, the Roy Jones syndrome, where Roy was so much physically and athletically gifted than his contemporaries. When that started to decline, he became more like ordinary. Well, I saw something in Andrade's punching power early on. He got pop on his punches. Now, let's not mistake that at all. He can punch, and he can punch with both hands. Demetrius Andrade might be the best puncher at middleweight. He might be. But his athleticism and his natural ability, that's starting to decline. You know what I mean? So if your boxing ability isn't there or isn't on par with where it needs to be for your athletic declining, it could be masked, then you can be in trouble. You can be in more situations of vulnerability. And I think that's what's going to be the case with him. He'll end up getting caught by one of these guys that he shouldn't get caught by if his boxing acumen is where it needs to be. But that's why we watch the fights, because we want to see what happens. Salute to Nitty G out there. He says, salute family, hashtag LDBC Chicago. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to the show. But Andre looked like he could box better in this fight because of the guy's lack of footwork. But he didn't do that, and he only looked to use his legs to get out of the way. You know, when Sweet Pea Whitaker was young, they talked about his movement and his footwork and his legs. You know, he could dance around you and like a buzzsaw, right? Like a bumblebee or something. But then when he began to set down on his punches and everything, he learned the subtleties of movement, how to step this way and step around a guy or turn a guy. You know, it's like that. So he didn't have to waste and burn a lot of energy. Andrade was looking like he was trying to run away from the guy a little bit instead of stepping around, popping that jab. You're a southpaw. You can make it difficult for him. It wasn't like he was landing that right hand consistently, but in the later rounds, he was able to touch Andrade with that right hand, and that did make a bit of a difference. So these are the type of things that you look at when you see a fighter declining, okay? He made Liam Williams look a lot better than Liam Williams really is, and that's that vulnerability factor. Eventually, somebody's going to catch up to him, and that's going to be, you know, the beginning of the end. Bruce Gold says, age is what made Ali a fighter from the master boxer. Looks like Andrade is also a victim of time. Well, that's his fault. You know, the poor decisions that he's made with management and the fact that he hasn't taken fights that he could have taken, pulled out of fights that were already signed and ready to go, laying up on the shelf, just doing, to me, Demetrius Andrade, like so many of the other fighters out here today, he seems to represent someone who's enjoying his celebrity of being a professional fighter. He's made a few bucks, nowhere near what he could have potentially made, but he's made a few bucks, and he's content with being the WBO champion, fighting those mandatories and guys like he fought tonight, and he's just content, and he fights like someone who's content. You know what I mean? Protecting what he has. That's about it. But no spirit, nothing like I'm shooting for the stars. You know what? He's happy with what he has in his pocket, man. And when fighters get like that, it's dangerous because they could really get hurt if they happen to get in there with somebody who is really, really hungry. That makes all the difference. DT says, I don't think any of y'all care, but Paul and Askren are walking out. No, DT, nobody here cares, because if they did, they'd be over theirs. Okay? So, you know, and I'll let you guys go so you could check that stuff out if you want, but STORMYBMAN has no interest in that crap. But, yeah, the Demetrius Andrade Williams fight, it was a battle that didn't need to be the type of battle that it turned out to be. And I think it had everything to do with Mr. Andrade and how he approached it. You know what I mean? My man Stay Sharp is out there. He says, salute to the chat and the OG STORMYBMAN. Salute to you, Stay Sharp. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. But we're about to wrap this one up, man. I'm sorry you came in late unless you were out there just listening before writing in the chat. But yeah, man, I think that anybody who wants to make a name for themselves need to fight Demetrius Andrade right now. Don't worry about what network he's on or whatever. Push for the fight. And when you push for the fight, you know, get in there, take him out like you need to do. Because this fight, did you see him hugging Williams after the fight and talking in his ear? He held that man for like 2 minutes. I don't know what that was about, but I'm like, Andre moves funny anyway, right? But this is why you got to get guys like that out of there, dust them off, get them up out of there, and put some real fighters and champions in their places, because I just don't know what his goal is. You know, he's running around there. He's growing all his hair on his face and these dreads and stuff. And it's like, to me, it seems like he want to be a roster or something more than a fighter. It's like, you know, Get out of here, man. This is my favorite sport. I don't need guys like you stinking up the joint. I want to see warriors out there. Huh? You coming out there with your Victorian shirts like Prince and all that and slave outfits and stuff. Get the hell out of my sport, man. Get out of here. You know? Bruce Gold says, I'm watching it. I have to admit, but I'm doing a split screen and always have an ear for the Storm Man. Okay, Bruce Goes, okay. Laying it on kind of thick there, but I understand. J.A. Dixon says, salute OG, and the chat, word for the day is lackluster. Salute to you, J.A. Dixon, because you might be right, man. You might be right, you know. Yeah, Bruce Gold says he kissed him twice. He did. Stay Sharp says he is feminine. Yes, he is. He says, I agree, OG. Yeah, you know, he's been like that since a youth. Rhode Island, Cape Verde lifestyle. Hey, man, let me tell you something, bro. You know what? Give a pound like this or a nod like that and we good. I don't need you touching on me. Even when I was playing sports when I was a young man and everything. Don't try that, slap me on the butt or hey, man, I don't like to give pounds. You know what I mean? I just don't want to touch another man, man. Don't be touching on me. If I touch you, it's going to be hitting you in your jaw. You know what I'm saying? It ain't going to be rubbing up against your body and all of that stuff. Get out of here with that foolishness. And then what is this with these tight pants and stuff that these dudes are wearing? The women wear tight stuff to show off the silhouette of their figures and shape. What are you doing? Huh? Get out of here with that, man. I don't know, man. I just don't like it. But Bruce Gold says, I kid, you're not my bro. Yeah, we bros. We cool, Bruce. You know that. He says, I'm everywhere. You know it. Oh, I know that, man. That's why I said that, because I know you. Bruce Gold can be on everybody's chat, man, all day. I'm like, man, how does the brother do it? But it's great to have someone that has that type of loyalty and support like that. I really respect that. And that's, you know, that's outstanding, man. We're glad to have you around. Stay Sharp says, he would spar with my fighters. I would tell them not to play with him. Funny games. Yeah, man. Yeah, you got guys out there that's just kind of like, we used to call them fruity. You know, they fruity like that. And that fruity don't necessarily mean with the broken wrist. You know what I mean? It just means that their brains operate on a different frequency. And you be like, what's with that dude? You know what I mean? And Lenny Kravitz dudes and stuff. Yeah, man. You have to be careful. So, Taylor Bell says, me too. Yeah, man. So, but hey, man, it's been a great post fight, you know, to talk the fights with you guys. I'm gonna get on out of here and let you guys get on and enjoy the other stuff. Is Bruce goes, is that it already, or is that your prediction? Avery Jackson out there says, truth be told, Stormy B. Yeah, man, you know, got to tell it like it is, man. If it ain't people like myself and some other OGs out here to say the stuff we say, could you imagine what you know, it's like you'd be wondering, is everybody, you know, okay with this? No, everybody ain't okay with this. There's something wrong with you. You know what I mean? Man, if I was wearing some skinny pants or something and my dad saw me with that on, he'd kick me in the back of my pants. Hard as he could, like he was punting a football through the uprights. You understand? Taylor Bell is laughing. He says, fruit cakes, the broken wrists. He says, I never heard that one before. Keep on listening, bro. You'll hear a lot of them coming from me, and they all mean what you think they mean. Exactly. Shoot. DT says, if Bruce Goes was watching my wife call my attention, missed it. Oh, man. So that was it? That's the end of it? Yeah, good. That's good. That's everybody, you feel like fools for those who bought that stuff, huh? And if you want to listen to Snoop Dogg you know, over there chitter chattering and, you know, smoking on them tweeds and stuff like that, and you think that that's boxing, more power to you, man. I could do some better things with my life, you know, like read a book, become more cerebral in this life. Instead of depreciating brain cells, I'm trying to hold on to the ones that I got. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, great show, everybody. Appreciate everybody out there listening to Stormy, man, because you don't have to. You know what I mean? I recognize that. I know you don't have to. So it's just one of those things, man. But we're going to get on up out of here. Let you guys go mull over life and the experience of Paul and all of that. We should call him Fall. Like fake, you know, fall. But yeah. Get on out of here. But yeah. Brusco says, I can't sleep tonight. Yeah, man. Watching that Triller stuff, that ain't gonna help you, you know. That stuff will keep you awake, especially if you're a true boxing person, because it's like, man, I can't believe I watched that. And you be mad at yourself. You be so mad you can't go to sleep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But let me see what we got out here. DT says, peace, Stormy. Wasn't worth it. I watched because my son wanted to watch. Yeah, they got you, man. They got you. You know, you could have had better coin spent over here at the STORMYBMAN channel. Shoot. Because I'm going to tell you, man, as long as people going to keep on, they going to keep on selling that stuff to you, man. But it ain't worth it. Really. It ain't worth it. I says it ain't. DT says, peace, everyone. Yeah, peace to you too as well, bro. I was just trying to see if there were some last comments coming in. I didn't want to cut anybody off. But yeah. But we're going to get on out of here. You guys have a wonderful weekend. And I'll catch you guys Tuesday for the Tuesday Tussle. That's what I'm going to be doing next, the Tuesday Tussle. And maybe next time we'll have Reggie with us because Reggie was calling the Triller show. But you guys have a great night. I'm on out of here now. Peace to everybody.